The SEPTA Route 15 bus grumbled eastbound through Fairmount Park like a tired mechanical beast, its fluorescent lights humming faintly in the late dusk. Saturday evenings in Philadelphia were never silent, but there was something eerie about the way this bus carried its passengers. Routine, casual, unaware of the fuse already lit inside. There were nearly 30 people on board. Among them were 3 teenage boys, the kind of teens who wore their youth like armor, talking too loud, cracking jokes at strangers, daring the world to challenge them. One of them, a 14-year-old with bright white earbuds in his ears, rapped along to music only he could hear. Another leaned against the window, tapping his sneaker in rhythm with the road. The third was watching a man who had just boarded. He was tall, mid-40s, maybe slender, but something about his posture made him seem heavier, denser. He walked like he was carrying more than just a backpack. The teens laughed again. Something about the man's coat. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it wasn't. The man turned and stared, and didn't stop staring. To the rest of the bus, he was just another face. To the boys in the back, he was suddenly something else. A question, a threat, or maybe just a silence that felt too loud. The bus rocked. The lights flickered. Then at 6:15 p.m., everything snapped. A sound like a firecracker echoed inside the metal walls. One, then another, screams followed. Sharp, panicked, real. Passengers ducked. Shielded children flattened themselves to the floor. A woman near the front gasped as a bullet sliced past her shoulder and tore fabric from her jacket. And skin from her back. The shooter's hand was steady, controlled. 3 teens hit. One in the back, one in the hand, one in the foot. One of them cried out and tried to crawl away. Another slumped forward, blood darkening his hoodie. The bus came to a screeching halt at 39th and Girard. In that chaos, the shooter didn't run. Not at first. He looked around, calmly, deliberately, as if checking his work. Then, without a word, he slipped out the back door into the warm spring air and vanished between alleys and trash bins and broken fences. Detective Mariel Vega had worked homicide for nearly a decade. She'd seen bodies in alleyways, blood-stained mattresses, families shattered over senselessness. But there was something about shootings on public transit that gnawed at her. The randomness, the helplessness, the utter violation of safety. She arrived 20 minutes after call. Blue and red lights reflected in the windows of a mobilized bus. A fire truck rumbled in the background. Medics were triaging on the pavement. Vega took it all in. Saw the blood on the rubber floor, the limp foot sticking out from beneath the seat, the shattered glass near the driver. This was inside a moving bus? She asked an officer. Route 15, he said, packed with people. No warning. For shot, including 3 minors. The youngest, the 14-year-old, had been unresponsive when they loaded him onto the stretcher. Vega's fist clenched. Tell me we have cameras. We do, the officer replied. SEPTA surveillance. Uploading now. The footage showed the man entering the bus 2 stops earlier. He didn't say anything. Didn't look agitated. No aggressive movements. Just observant. Focused. He sat near the middle, barely moved, until he stood turned and opened fire. No hesitation. No yelling. Just action. The gun appeared from his coat, like it had always been there. Vega slowed the footage. Paused. Zoomed. He was careful. Face partially obscured by a cap. Sunglasses. His posture controlled. His escape smooth. Guy's a ghost, one officer muttered. Ghosts leave prints. Vega snapped. The 16-year-old who was shot in the hand spoke to police from his hospital bed, tears welling in his eyes between statements. We were just playing, he said. He looked weird, kinda angry. My boy said he looked like he was from the Matrix. That's it. That's all we said. And then he stood up, like real fast, like he knew exactly what he was about to do. The boy looked away. He didn't even blink. The media frenzy began before the blood had dried. SEPTA terror. Shooter on the loose. Teens targeted on public transit. City officials called for calm. Police presence was doubled across transit lines. Bus ridership plummeted overnight. Mayor Darnell Griggs gave a press conference. We will not tolerate this kind of violence. We will find who did this, and we will ensure he never harms anyone again. But behind the podium, inside briefing rooms and precinct offices, officers whispered the truth. They had no idea who he was. The break came from an unlikely place, a clinic nurse. She called in a suspicious patient who'd come in with a wound to the palm, likely from slide bite on a semi-auto pistol. Said he gave a fake name, acted paranoid, left before they could finish cleaning the wound. Surveillance confirmed it. It was him. Fingerprint evidence on one of the casings from the bus sealed it. His name was Jerome Keys, 42, former military, discharged under mental instability, lived in a series of shelters and halfway homes. Psych evaluations describe him as hypervigilant, delusional, prone to violent ideation. Several incidents involved verbal altercations with teenagers in public. In one report, he accused a 15-year-old of spying on him for the government. To the outside world, Jerome was invisible, but now he had everyone's attention. Inside his last known residence, police found his obsession plastered across the walls. Tape bus schedules, photos of teenagers he'd taken with zoom lens, handwritten notes that spiraled into rants. They watched me. They laughed to trigger me. SEPTA is a hive. It wasn't hatred. It was fear. Paranoia had become his oxygen, delusion his compass. And somewhere in that tangle of psychosis, those three teens had become his monsters. The tip that saved lives came from a homeless veteran Jerome used to bunk with. He kept saying he had to finish the mission. The man told police. Said it wasn't done. Said the hive had more agents. That same night, plainclothes officers boarded Route 56. They waited, and sure enough, he arrived. Same coat, same bag, same dead-eyed walk. When they drew their guns, Jerome didn't flinch. Too late, he whispered and let the bag fall. But inside was no bomb. Just notebooks, lists, pages and pages of imagined betrayals. He was arrested without firing a single shot. The 14-year-old survived. Just barely. Weeks of surgeries, rehab, therapy ahead. The woman who was grazed now rides with pepper spray and a twitch in her step. And Route 15? It still runs. But riders watch every passenger a little closer now. They remember the night it wasn't just a route. It was a trap. And they know, deep down, it could happen again. The city hadn't slept since the incident. News outlets replayed the grainy footage of the man in the red hat. His face obscured, his intentions unknown. The public's fear was palpable, and the authorities were under immense pressure to bring the perpetrator to justice. SEPTA increased security measures, installing cameras and deploying more officers. Yet, the sense of safety had been shattered. Commuters hesitated before boarding buses, their eyes scanning fellow passengers, searching for signs of danger. The Route 15 shooting became a catalyst for discussions on mental health, public safety, and the importance of community vigilance. The city mourned, healed, and vowed never to forget. But even with Jerome Keys behind bars, the questions only grew heavier. Why did it take so long for someone to notice he was unraveling? Why was a man with a known psychiatric history able to slip through the cracks? Again, were there signs the public missed or chose to ignore? And most chilling of all, was Route 15 truly the end of it? In a city pulsing with fear and silence, some believe there are others like Jerome still riding the system, watching, waiting, listening to the wrong voices in their heads. The scars from that bus ride still linger, not just in the victims, but in all of U.S. who board a bus and glance twice at the man who won't stop staring. Do we really ever know who's sitting next to us? The story isn't over. So if you love true crime stories that dig deeper, that peel back the layers of real-life horror, stories that ask the hard questions and leave you thinking long after they end, subscribe now, because what's coming next may be darker than you think, and it's real.